Cliffs can be really scary places, but here's a good thing about a cliff. You know where the edge is. You know when you're about to go too far. You know your limit, your boundary, when you just can't take one more step. Unfortunately, life's limits aren't always so clear. How many times have I said, I feel like this commitment is about to send me over the edge? Well, I feel that way because I didn't set up clear enough parameters for my schedule. I didn't properly use the two most powerful words, yes and no. I said too many yeses and let my schedule get pushed way past my ability to keep up. I didn't say no to the things I should have said no to, and now people are counting on me. If I back out now to keep myself from going over the edge, it'll be a disaster of letdowns and disappointments. We live in this place of an overwhelming schedule and an underwhelmed soul because we're constantly dancing on the edge of the cliff. Can I be honest and let you know, I still sometimes flirt with the edge of the cliff. I still sometimes overschedule myself. I say yes to too many people and too many commitments, and I let my best yes convictions get run over by the demands of my constantly busy schedule. But there's a story in the scriptures about predetermining what my best yes life looks like. It's the story of Joshua and Caleb. In the book of Numbers, we find Moses sending 12 spies into the promised land to scout out what the land was like. Joshua and Caleb were among these 12 spies, but there was a really big difference between how they looked at the promised land and how the other men looked at the promised land. The 10 came back after their 40-day exploration, reporting on giants and walls and armies that just terrorized the Israelites. Joshua and Caleb, well, they came back with a totally different perspective. Caleb said, let's go at once and take the land. We can certainly conquer it. But the people refused. So for the next 40 years, they wandered in the desert. After that generation had died, Joshua and Caleb were the only ones then to be able to enter into the promised land. I think it's interesting if you listen to what Caleb says in Joshua 14, 7-8, about why he wanted to take the land 40 years before. Caleb said, I was 40 years old when Moses, the servant of the Lord, sent me to explore the land, and I brought him back a report according to my convictions. But my brothers who went up with me made the hearts of the people melt with fear. I, however, followed my Lord wholeheartedly. Caleb brought back this report, he said, according to his conviction. Not conviction like when we've done something wrong and we feel convicted about it. Caleb's conviction was a fixed or firm belief. So much like the blessing, if you can say that there's a blessing up the cliff, much like the blessing up the cliff, I can fix my edges where it makes my decisions so much easier. Caleb had predetermined that God would help him conquer that land. Conquering that land was his best yes. So though he encountered the giants and the walls and the armies, he fixed his belief, his, I guess you would say, firm edge, and it gave him the ability to have the courage he needed to say yes when everyone else said no. He said yes to his convictions, which meant he had to say no to some people. He had to say no to the popular opinion that the land was impossible to conquer. And you know what? The same is true for us. If we predetermine that we're going to say yes to our promised land, if you want to say that, or our best yes life, then we're going to have to say no to some people. We're going to have to say no to some opportunities. Maybe we're even going to feel like we miss out. We're going to have to say no to those things that don't fit the season we're in or don't fit the convictions of our heart. For my family, I predetermined that Monday nights would be kept very special. This is one of my best yes decisions. I always wanted to have the kind of home where people would feel comfortable gathering. I wanted that sacred space where my family could eat and laugh and connect. But I also wanted a place where others could come and receive love and nourishment around our table. This is kind of a funny thing because if you know me, you know I'm not really that great at hospitality. So when I set apart this Monday night dinner as a place where my kids know, hey, if you want to invite someone over, you can invite them Monday night anytime. And I'm just going to trust that, kind of like the loaves and the fishes, that God will multiply whatever food we have. And make no mistake, you probably won't find me serving recipes that are like from a fancy cookbook. I mean, we may have, like we did a couple of Monday nights ago, pancake wars, where my kids and a couple of their friends, they all made these wild concoctions with pancake mix. Nothing fancy at all, just simple. But you know what made that night really, really special? You know what made that night something that just overwhelmed my soul as I underwhelmed my schedule that Monday night? It was the guests that we had invited in. It was an amazing, precious promise that I kept. I had a friend this past year that passed away from cancer. And just a few days before she passed away, I went to visit her in the hospital, and she said, "Lisa, will you make me this promise? Will you help my husband, her husband, who is now responsible for these 2 teenage girls, will you help him make sure that he gets my girls in places where women can speak into their lives with love and with nurture like only a woman can do?" Now, my schedule is really overwhelming, and I'll be honest, sometimes when those kinds of requests come in, I feel such a sense of responsibility that I've got to keep that commitment, but I know the realities of my schedule. However, with absolute abandon, with absolute confidence, I could say to my friend, yes, I will invest in your girls. I will invest in your family, because I know that I have Monday nights. I have any Monday night that they want to come over. I'll feed them whatever we're having, nothing fancy, but always good. I'll feed them, I'll love on them, I'll invest in your girls. It was a way that I knew I could keep that promise to my friend, because I'd already underwhelmed my schedule, so I could overwhelm my soul, the souls of my kids, and even these friends that I chose to invest in. However, trying to make time for these dinners with my schedule, you know, if I wouldn't have set apart Monday night, it could have really, really been frustrating, because you can't just make time or find time. I can't just hope that all the stars align and that extra time just appears. Therefore, I have to set aside these Monday nights as the predetermined time to make this happen. During this process of guarding these Monday nights for these special dinners, I predetermined that this was a best yes for my family. I discovered, though, that because I set aside Monday nights as this predetermined time, I was going to have to say no to everything else that came up on a Monday night. I also discovered there's 2 kinds of no. There's the small no and the big no. A small no is one where I can just quickly give it when a competing request is made, a request that might send my schedule over the best yes limits that I've set. I don't have to delay saying no for a request that comes for Monday night. I can just quickly and kindly state that Monday nights are reserved for family time. You know, I don't know what your equivalent of Monday night dinners are, but I know there's a best yes you've been trying to weave into your life. So, assignment number 1 this week, I don't want you to find time for that best yes. I want you to predetermine that this best yes is a priority and set your schedule accordingly. Set up where your edge is and practice the small no, quickly and kindly turning down anything else that could send you over the edge. Well, speaking of edges, I thought you might find it interesting. I'm sitting here on the edge of the White Cliffs of Dover. It's about a 2-hour train ride southeast of London. These cliffs, they face the Straits of Dover and France, soaring 350 feet above the English Channel. They got their name because they're made out of chalk and flint. You know, a small no is much like writing in chalk. It doesn't leave a long-lasting impression. It's easy to erase the marks of chalk from your life. But flint, on the other hand, when struck, it starts a fire, and fire can rip through a person's life, leaving a lasting and often painful impression. Letting a decision slip away from you and build to the point where it becomes a big no can cause so much more damage than a simple and passing small no. The longer we put off saying no, the more we build the expectations of the other person. Saying no, well, it's always a bit of a letdown. But the more time that passes, you in essence could possibly send them over the edge. Right now, I have a feeling you have a small no bouncing around in your head. You've gotten a request this week and you've determined you need to say no to that request, but you've been putting it off. So, assignment number 2 this week, say no. 2 assignments. Are you up for them? Predetermine some best yes activity for your week and exercise the power of the small no. Well, to close this session, I wanted to tell you a beautiful illustration of predetermining found in a book by John Maxwell entitled Make Today Count. It's a story about a 92-year-old woman who was moving into a nursing home. Since she was legally blind and her husband of 70 years had passed away, the move was her only option. So she was waiting in the lobby at the facility for a really long time before finally being told that her room was ready. As she was escorted down the corridor, her attendant described the room, right down to the curtains hung on the windows. "I love it," the elderly lady said with enthusiasm. "But you haven't even seen the room yet. Just wait," the attendant responded. "That doesn't have anything to do with it," she replied. "Happiness is something you decide ahead of time. Whether or not I like my room doesn't depend on how the furniture is arranged. It's how I arrange my mind." Well, I pray as you arrange your mind, your heart, and your schedule to accommodate your predetermined best yes, you'll experience the satisfaction of enjoying the view instead of fearing the edge.